A Processy team at work. The experts have got everything they need for their long day's work on board. Only with prudent planning and systematic preparations can they hope to keep to their schedule for river and industry monitoring. At the Palembang Task Centre, team leader Andy has several checklists to help order the planning. On the staffing schedule checklist, he notes the deployment of personnel, who is going on the field trip, who will be in the laboratory, are outside personnel from partner institutions required, where will the samples be taken today. Bad planning or insufficient preparation can cause considerable difficulties or even make work impossible. The monitoring records give a good overview of the surveys. Results can be processed later in the computer. These form the foundation for statistical data. The records contain entries on industrial plants and the types of sample taken. Furthermore, all quality indicators which could be determined on the spot are also listed. Overall planning is especially important in preparing for water sampling. To make sure no instruments are forgotten, Yuli Indah and Hali Hassin put together the measuring equipment with the help of checklists. The calibrated field measuring instruments are vitally important. These determine the oxygen content, electrical conductivity, pH value, and the temperature of the water at the sample site. The marked synthetic measuring cord is used to measure the width of the river. Ali will later be responsible for the measurements in the field. Checklist SS06 helps him assemble the field equipment. This should ensure that nothing is forgotten. The list also contains simple parts that can easily be left behind, like these scissors. If, for instance, these marker pens for labelling the samples are missing, the individual samples cannot be registered or systematically processed later. Assembling the equipment is made much easier when parts already got together are arranged separately. The previously disinfected bottles go into a closed bag for safety's sake. In these, water samples will be collected from which the bacterial content of the water will be determined, expressed in concentration of E. coli or fecal coliforms. This careful planning with special checklists ensures and reinsures that all necessary work materials are available in the field. Only one item has to be missing for a day's work to be lost. All sample bottles and collection containers taken are registered on their own checklist. Yuli also mustn't forget the Secchi disc and the depth visibility measuring rod used to determine water opacity. And of course there's the bucket and ladle too. What containers are needed depends on which analyses are planned. According to the analysis to be undertaken, water samples can be collected together or separately. The size of the sample and its conservation are determined by analytical requirements. Red synthetic canisters are used in special cases. The white synthetic canisters are intended for normal sampling. 2-litre containers are a practicable size. When greater volumes are required, more containers are taken. Brown glass bottles are used for oil tests. The ice mustn't be forgotten either. Even today, ice is still the safest and cheapest method of keeping samples stable until they can be processed in the laboratory. This is especially important for certain water quality indicators, such as biological oxygen demand tests. In Palembang, the Processy investigation team use an overland vehicle, a normal street vehicle, or a speedboat, according to the location of the sampling site. First, all the instruments are taken outside and clearly laid out. Only then does loading begin. The driver also has a checklist of objects which remain permanently in the car, such as the tool for servicing the instruments, street maps, plans of the sampling site areas, the transportation container, and large containers for mixed samples. Shortly before departure, Ali checks again that really nothing has been forgotten. The equipment and type of sampling are determined by the size of the stretch of waters. On large stretches, mixed samples are always necessary, and on reaches of the river near the coast, time is an important factor. Samples should ideally be taken at the height of the tidal ebb, 1 hour before low tide. Besides the instruments and materials which are necessary for the water sampling, the most important things that the personnel need on their way are also checked. Food and drink are on the list, for example. Sun cream too. Anyone spending a day on a boat in the open can get really burnt. Remedies for stomach complaints and nausea are also necessary. Caring for the body and the stomach is particularly important. Some sampling sites are several hours away in the boat from the nearest shop or restaurant. Today, the Processy team is going on a big sampling expedition with a speedboat again. Together with the team leader, the boat driver goes over everything with his own checklist to check for the last time that really nothing has been forgotten. From safety equipment to navigation lamps, compass to ice in the cooling box, nothing can be missing. Even parking money for the driver has been thought of on the checklist, as the Processy team has to pay to moor at various harbours. After the many conscientious checks with the help of the checklists, each and every water sampling should go successfully.